Volume's good. You can speak.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry I'm late.
You were really late.
I know. Have you ever had a teacher show up 10 minutes late to class?
Actually, yes.
Really?
Yeah, but you were later.
Oh, man. Well, good thing that you had your mom to keep you company. What did you do with your 10 minutes while you were waiting for me?
We sang. No, we didn't sing. Yes, we did. We listened to a song.
You labeled your
then-
maps and got everything ready for the lesson today.
What
We
song did you
already
listen to?
A song called Sing by Ellie Holcomb.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, let's get started since we got a late start and we have so much to cover.
Oh, yeah.
What country are we learning about today?
Guatemala.
Guatemala. And Quinn, you chose Guatemala. Why did you choose Guatemala?
I don't know.
You don't know? Just sounded like a cool name.
It looks like a person with a nose and a face and a chest.
A nose, a face, and a what?
Chest.
The shape of the country does?
Yeah. See? Kind of.
It's kind of like a
Wait,
cloud. Clouds always look like things.
Guatemala
Sometimes
is
countries look like things.
supposed to be tiny.
It is pretty small. It's because we're zoomed in. See, look, it's about the same size as Panama, right? Just like what we learned about yesterday. Not too different, is it?
No, but they're both really tiny. And they're
Yeah.
both very close to each other.
They are very close to each other. See, Panama was about the size of South Carolina, and Guatemala is about the size of Tennessee. So they're both the size of like one of the 50 U.S. states. So it's not very big in terms of its size. But how many people do you think it has? Do you think it has more people than Panama or less people?
More.
More. Because you remember Panama was really small, right? Not a lot of people there. So can you see where Guatemala is on this list of how many people?
Number 11.
Number 11. So this is of all the countries in the Americas, and Guatemala is number 11.
Whoa,
bigger than 80.
that's so much. That's
It's
so
bigger than
many
80, but a
people.
lot smaller than the U.S. It's still, you know, there's 20 times more people in the U.S. For every one person in Guatemala,
Okay.
20 in the U.S.
Is this a map of how big it is or how many people it has?
This is how many people it is. For the size, you can look at this map, and it's about the size of one state, like Tennessee. So it's pretty small in terms of its size, but it has a good number of people for its amount of size.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And you know what it's famous for?
Volcanoes.
How did you know? It's almost like you're looking at the same screen as me.
Yeah.
It actually has 30 volcanoes, and many of them are still active. So this is not a photo from very long ago. They have volcanoes that even explode today. Any day they can explode. And they shoot up and they shoot lava. And so you don't want to hang out too close to the volcanoes.
Did you climb a volcano once?
I have climbed volcanoes. I didn't do it in Guatemala, but you know what is interesting about Guatemala is they have one volcano that people like to climb, and they go all the way up to the top, and they cook marshmallows on it. Have you ever done s'mores and cooked marshmallows?
Yeah.
Look at this photo. They're cooking marshmallows on top of the lava, on top of a volcano.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Here's one with the graham cracker, or in between a cookie. Lava roasted marshmallows. How's that sound?
Pretty delicious.
It's delicious.
I agree. And they have so many volcanoes. They have one that's extremely beautiful called Volcan Atitlan, or Volcano Atitlan. And this is the one that I spent most of my time at. I went to different towns all around the lake. And you know, it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. Here are some of the photos of what it looks like when the sun is setting or sun is rising.
Is it still active?
This one is not active. In fact, the water, where you see the water, that used to be a volcano in and of itself. Sometimes what happens is after a volcano explodes, if it really explodes, it goes all the way to the max, it forms what's called a caldera, which means after it explodes, it's like, you know what? I'm done being a volcano. I'm going to be a lake now. No more explosions for me. And so it becomes a lake, and it says, I'm retired from exploding lava. Just like that. So Atitlan is a massive lake, and they're really, really deep because it goes so far down to the core of where the volcano was. So it's not like you could go in there. It's not like Panama, where you could go and stand 3 feet in the water. It goes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet down. But you can go out on a boat, and I did that several times. But look at these photos. It was so cool, and they had all these sort of wooden decks you could go out. I have a photo of this exact spot right along the side of the water. What do you think?
Words?
Beaches were better?
Wow.
Good.
I like all of that.
Actually, one of the things that's funny is there's a town called Atitlan, or sorry, a town called Antigua, and they think that the name of Guatemala, dating all the way back to their ancestors, it meant something in an old language that meant the mountain that vomits water.
Ugh.
That, because look at the steam. You know how
Vomit.
water, when it cooks, it becomes steam or smoke? They thought, back before they knew what a volcano was, they just looked at it and they said, wow, this mountain just spits water up in the air. It vomits water. Crazy.
It throws up.
And this is the town of Antigua, right next to the volcano. So you can see the volcano right behind the town, and it was quite beautiful. Very close.
Wowie! Wowie!
Wowie zowie. Yeah, really, really close. So they all just sit there and hope that the volcano doesn't explode anytime soon. This is their biggest city. It's called Guatemala City. It's not so beautiful. It's not the prettiest city I've ever seen, but it's a very big city. There's a lot of people who live there, and it's most countries, or a lot of countries, have one major international city. So the U.S., it's so big that people live in so many different cities, and they fly in and out of the country, like Philadelphia or New York or Washington, D.C. or San Francisco. But in a lot of countries, they have one city that people fly in and out of. And for Guatemala, it's Guatemala City. So a lot of their business happens here, and people go in and out of the country from here. They also have a cool little town called Flores, where they have this little town built on an island. And they have one road that goes out to the island, and then a whole bunch of people who live there. Kind of funky, right? Wow. And the main reason why people go to Flores, in addition to it being kind of unique, is it's near an area called, oh wait, we'll come to that later. First, I'll show you some photos of kiddos. So these are some of the Guatemalans. They're a happy, happy population. I thought very smiley, very fun, very friendly. So here are some of the people, and they like to wear colorful clothes. And in fact, this shirt that I'm wearing is from Guatemala. I bought it in Guatemala. What do you think?
Wow, wow.
Wowie zowie. It's very common for them to have this kind of colored pattern. You can see it on their shirt, see? Just like mine.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I have it just in this little area, but for them, sometimes the entire shirt looks like that. And here's more examples of all the different colors. So many countries in Latin America and South America, they love colors. So for their carnivals and their different festivals, they always have tons and tons of color. In fact, they even have color in their graveyards. Have you ever been to a graveyard?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They look a little bit different in Guatemala and in a lot of other countries. In fact, here, instead of a plain gray grave, they have a tombstone that is painted and it sits above the ground. So they actually bury the person sometimes above the ground and sometimes under, but they always have really colorful tombstones like this.
Wow.
And one of the things that's interesting is some people in Guatemala, they have a belief that they have to bury someone right after they die. So in the US, oftentimes, it takes a couple of days to hold a funeral. And so people will wait so they can gather everyone to come and observe and remember the person. But in Guatemala, they try and bury them as quickly as possible. It's something to do with, it has to do with what they believe happens to the soul after you die. They tend to think that, I don't know the exact details of it, but has to do with making sure that you take care of the person's soul right after they die. Yeah. The people love fireworks and firecrackers. In fact, so many times I was trying to go to bed and I couldn't because in the middle of the night, people would start blowing up firecrackers. And it's not just holidays. It's not just the 4th of July. It would be like every day of the week. What do you think? Would you have fun with that? Going out every night and doing firecrackers?
Yeah, kind of. No, I wouldn't give it a reason. That would be
too much. It's more fun just a couple times of the year, maybe. They also have what's known as Mayan people. So the Mayan population is one of the oldest populations in the world. And they, at the time that they were popular or very present, and there were so many of them, they were considered some of the smartest people in the world. They made a lot of early advances in science and math. And so before a lot of the rest of the world figured out how to do really, really good math, the Mayan people figured it out. So they were some of the first people to understand math and science. And they built big structures like this. So this is called tikal, and this is what I was going to show you earlier. They have lots and lots of areas like this within the country, but tikal is just this really, really steep monument, kind of like the pyramids in Egypt or what we saw in Mexico. In Mexico, they had the Mayans and the Aztecs. In Guatemala, they have the Mayans. And in fact, the Mayans still exist. There are still Mayan people. In fact, a lot of the population is Mayan. You know, in a lot of countries, it's only a small percentage of the country is indigenous. But in Guatemala, it's still like a lot of the people. Animals.
Yes. And what is that third picture?
Aiden's favorite. Which one?
The third one on the top row.
I have no idea. Some kind of weird lizard thing, it looks like. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, it's like a frog thing. The most famous animal
look at that bird.
Is the quetzal. That's the bird. It's their most famous one, and it's the animal of Guatemala. It's the one they're most well known for.
Why did you say my favorite and you didn't show it to me?
My favorite animal?
No, why did you say Hayden's favorite?
Oh, I was saying your favorite part is the animals. That's always what you look forward to the most, isn't it?
I thought you said my favorite animal.
Oh, I don't know what your favorite animal is. I just know that your favorite part of our lessons are the animals.
Did you think he was saying his favorite animal is Hayden?
Look at that weird, long-faced toad thing under that picture.
This?
Click on
it. Another reason why I love the internet. So this is the quetzal. It's their famous bird, and it's so famous and so loved in Guatemala that they put it on, or they named their dollar after it. So instead of calling it the Guatemalan dollar, or the Guatemalan peso, they call it the Guatemala quetzal. And so their money is quetzales. And in fact, I have some quetzales from Ecuador. I carry this around, and it keeps all my change. I can't use it in Taiwan, though. No one accepts coins here in Taiwan from Guatemala. They use Taiwanese money instead. All right. One of the things that was fun was I got to go across the border. So Guatemala shares a border with Belize, which is another country we'll learn about maybe next week or maybe the week after. But I had to go across the border, and I went in taxi. It's the only time I've ever crossed the border in a taxi. Took a taxi from the western side of Belize into the eastern side of Guatemala. And it was interesting. We just went in and had to spend a bunch of time going through customs. And do you know what you have to show them when you cross from one country to another? Have you ever been across the country? You've been to Canada. Do you remember what you had to show them?
Passport?
Bingo, passport. So I had to carry this around with me every time I travel so I can show everyone who I am, and again, to help make them believe that I'm a human and not a penguin.
Oh my gosh.
Here's some of their food. What do you see? What looks appealing?
Empanada.
Empanadas again. Empanadas everywhere.
Empanada. Empanadas everywhere.
Maybe we should try and make empanadas.
No.
I think you should.
Nope.
They also make a lot of chocolate. Do you guys like chocolate? Probably not, right?
Yes.
You do? Interesting. I don't think most kids like chocolate. You must be very unique. They make a lot of chocolate, lots and lots of specialty chocolate, and it's so yummy. And they do all kinds of unique flavors. Let's see, unique flavors. Maybe they have some listed here. Here's some pretty ones. They do chocolate art, so it's not just delicious, but it's also pretty. They also do tons of coffee. Guatemala is famous for coffee, just like a lot of other countries in that region. And guess what sport they like to play?
Soccer.
Are you sure?
Mm.
It's soccer. Soccer is their favorite.
Fancy pictures. That's corn. That's corn, not soccer.
Corn.
Yeah, that's corn. That's soccer.
I'm confused. Well, anyways, those are all of the images of Guatemala. Did you learn anything?
Yes.
What did you learn?
That it's not more interesting than Panama.
Ooh, you like Panama better.
That's an opinion.
Mm.
Yes.
So
I like
we could
the
do
beaches
we could
and
do a
the
lesson
native-
on opinions and facts. Yeah, Guatemala is not known for its beaches. It has some beaches over on the west coast, but Panama has both east coast and west coast, whereas Guatemala just has the west coast. It's more known for the volcanoes and the Lake Atitlan and the history and the forest.
We have some friends whose son is Guatemalan. He is not a senior. He's in high school right now, junior, I believe. And he was adopted from Guatemala. And he's an outstanding soccer player. And also our church goes on a missions trip to Guatemala every other year to help do multiple things. But one of the things they do is work in an orphanage and hang out with the kids and play soccer with them and enjoy the children there.
Cool.
I'm being eaten by a weird toad like with a long that says large coffee to go. This is the US though.
Large coffee to go. Okay, so we are known for the foods we're known for. The foods we're known for
in the US.
Thanksgiving,
Oh, wow.
turkey, donuts, hamburger with fries, apple pie, hot dog, barbecue, popcorn, and large coffee to go.
That large coffee to go, classic. And guess who makes the coffee? Guatemala. Guatemala sends all the coffee, and Americans are like, we're gonna drink these massive coffees with our donuts.
Yeah. Donuts. Look, friend, we are known for blue pants.
For blue jeans.
Blue
For
jeans.
blue pants.
Can you look up Peru starfish again with the like Santa hats?
Panamanian starfish.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
Panama starfish Santa?
Yeah. Please.
All right, let's see. Panama starfish Santa. What? Maybe it was just a yesterday thing. Nope, there it is.
This was so popular yesterday that the one fact that Hayden retained and wrote down on her fact sheet is that at Christmas, the starfish are funny. And drew a family of starfish with Santa hats and holding candy canes.
And sunglasses.
Wow.
Whoa!
Amazing.
That's in winter. That's crazy. Look, can you go to the family of starfish? Of families?
That's a family of snowmen.
This one?
You mean Santaman? No, like a family of like Santa starfish.
A family of Santa starfish. I don't know if that is a thing.
Yeah, it came up yesterday, but it's different today.
Yeah,
Do you guys have any more
I don't know if
things
we'll be
about
able to find
Guatemala?
that.
No more questions about Guatemala?
No questions about the Mayans or Tikal. No questions about the Mayan people, the firecrackers.
Fireworks and firecrackers are a fun thing.
No questions about their money.
Nope. Can you go back to the starfish?
I think we've had enough starfish.
Yeah, I think that's enough.
No.
Hey, guess who we'll learn? Do you guys know who we're learning about tomorrow? Which country?
France.
France. Great. Cool. I'll have to go learn about France. I don't know many things about France, but tomorrow I'll know lots of things to tell you.
When you're leaning on me. Pudding's barely. I'm not putting any weight on you. Yes, you are. I'm not. See, look, I'm not putting any weight on you. We need the jokes.
We can do some jokes.